Prop 33, also known as the Justice for Renters Act, and actually called really truly Prop 33, expands local government's authority to enact rent control on residential property. You've watched the yes on Prop 33, and you've watched the no on Prop 33, and you have no idea on Prop 33, is my guess, like a lot of folks I've talked to. We are here to explain Prop 33, go beyond the arguments and rebuttals, they're simply name calling and finger pointing, and give you some ideas on potentially how to think about Prop 33, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. Hey there, Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. We've been helping landlords and renters understand their rights before things go wrong. And of course, you don't have to listen to me. Why should you? Well, we have one of the only channels dedicated right down the middle to good renters and good landlords, helping them understand California landlord-tenant law. Now, of course, we can't give tax or legal advice, but for the most honest and up-to-date real estate advice, subscribe to this channel. We are uniquely positioned to be able to explain a bill about rent control because we have quite a bit of content on it. If you Google up the Tenant Protection Act or AB 1482, you're bound to find a video that we did. We're not patting ourselves on the back. We've just shot so much darn content on it. So having done that research into rent control, we're here to talk about Prop 33 and removing the protections under Costa Hawkins. What the heck does that mean? We're going to share with you. Prop 33 is seeking to eliminate Costa Hawkins Act, which is one of the last mythical times we had when Republicans and Democrats actually worked together. Back in 1995, this was passed by Jim Costa and Phil Hawkins, and what it did is it put in protections in place related to rent control. So those who thought rent control was getting out of control, the Costa Hawkins Act put in guardrails. For those who think that rent control should be unfettered, the Costa Hawkins Act is handcuffs to rent control. What it said that as of February 1995, if a building was built after that, it couldn't have rent control. Also, single-family homes and condos could not have rent control, and it allows landlords to raise the rent to market rent when a renter moves out, whether it's through a no-fault reason where the tenant didn't do anything wrong, or an at-fault reason like the tenant stopped paying rent. The rent was able to go to market after that renter's out, and then a new renter could come in and pay that new rent. Those are the protections that were built in, plus some other odds and ends, but the primary ones that Prop 33 wants to roll back are those. If yes on Prop 33 wins, Costa Hawkins will be eliminated and local areas will be able to set up their own unfettered rent control. If a no is what wins on Prop 33, things will stay the way they are right now with no changes. And that doesn't mean that we will continue without rent control. There's rent control throughout the state. We have the Statewide Tenant Protection Act of 2019 that went into effect in 2020. As I told you in the beginning of this video, we've released a ton of content on AB 1482. Additionally, areas like LA City, San Francisco, San Jose, and others who had rent control already before the Costa Hawkins Act went into place, they still have that rent control. They just had to dial it back after a certain date for buildings that were constructed. So there is rent control. For example, LA City has their rent stabilization ordinance with all their old rules for over 640,000 units. So there is rent control throughout the state of California. Don't let anybody confuse you and say, oh no, we don't have any, and this will allow it with Prop 33. That is not the case. It's important to bring up a few things about the Statewide Tenant Protection Act. There are certain properties that are exempt from the rent caps in there and the special eviction protections. Which properties are exempt from these statewide rent control provisions? Well, it's condos and single-family homes and owner-occupied duplexes that are owned by individuals, not corporations, and it's buildings that have a certificate of occupancy that's 15 years or younger. That's a rolling date. As buildings age, they eventually come under the statewide rent protection, and that is the case if there isn't a more strict local rent protection in place. The reason for these important exemptions in the statewide rent control bill is that the owners of condos and houses and owner-occupied duplexes, those are mom and pop owners. They're not big corporate billionaire landlords. And then the reason for the 15-year rolling date, Those may be owned by billionaire corporate landlords, but we need to allow construction to happen. If we immediately put in rent control in place on a building as soon as it was built, we wouldn't have any more buildings built. It wouldn't pencil anymore. So that's why we have those important exemptions in the statewide Tenant Protection Act. Having said that, if yes on Prop 33 passes and Costa Hawkins is eliminated, because that's where those protections come from and are motivated by, local areas may no longer have those protections. So that means mom and pop landlords will be swooped into rent control. They wouldn't have control over their buildings. And then new construction could also be swept under the rug of rent control as well. So the downsides of not having these exceptions could rear their ugly heads if a local area decides to include those. There's nothing in this legislation that dictates that these exemptions must stay in place if Costa Hawkins is eliminated. So we can't know for sure what a local municipality will do. So I literally shot hours of video for this video and then decided to trash it, throw it all away, and shoot another one. I went through this line by line, explained everything, and realized probably most people don't have the time or willpower to listen to me that long and listen to all this. I encourage you to read through the arguments for and against the Proposition 33, but I will tell you there isn't much meat in the bone here for either side. There's a lot of finger pointing and name calling. Billionaire landlords, why should we trust them? The AIDS Healthcare Foundation, why should we trust them? And Michael Weinstein, and then he's a slumlord. That's the finger pointing going back and forth. At the end of the day, that's all irrelevant. That is a fallacy of origin when you criticize the person who came up with the bill. There isn't a truth to it as to whether this is going to be a good or bad thing to do, and it is irrelevant who brought it up. It could have been a 5-year-old kid, it could have been a politician. It doesn't matter who brings it up. We have to analyze the merits of it and see if it makes sense. Unfortunately, you won't find much in the way of evidence on the pro side, and the argument against it is primarily based on the fact that it will kill affordable housing, which is a fact. There would be no incentive to build if the rules were made much more strict than they are. It's already tough enough for us to get housing, and we know that affordable housing and housing in general is a big need across the state. That's what's agreed on both sides. That's what's unfortunate in the arguments for and against. We don't have meat here to be able to easily make a decision, and that's probably why the commercials are the way they are. There's not much meat in those either. The argument for Prop 33 establishes the rent's too high. A lot of people are paying a considerable portion of their income towards rent. It also talks about 1 million people leaving California, leading to a $68 billion deficit, but we don't have anything that establishes that those 1 million people left because of rent. There could have been other reasons. It says that the solution for the problem of people leaving and the solution for people paying too much for rent. So it says, of course, building more housing is part of the solution for these issues of people leaving and people using too much of their income to pay for rent. But it says that the only solution we have right now is to eliminate Costa Hawkins and allow certain areas to put in their own local rent control. The only practical way is to allow local government to enact and expand rent control, because one size doesn't fit all. What's practical for Los Angeles doesn't work in Los Gatos. I don't know why. They don't establish why that's the case, and they don't establish why we can't do this another route. Like, there's voucher programs that could help all these people. We could work on increasing wages. We could work on increasing jobs. We could work on increasing the number of homes that are out there. We could also try to do this in one test area in California and see if it's successful. Maybe it does work if we eliminate all these protections. And it doesn't establish why one size doesn't fit all, and why Los Angeles, I guess in this case, needs something different. If Los Angeles needs something different than Los Gatos, then maybe we should work on implementing something for Los Angeles and not just go ahead and eliminate this for the entire state. We have plenty of laws that apply across the state. There's even laws that apply across the entire United States, and everybody seems to be okay with that. And really, the biggest argument they have, the most solid that they have, is about folks that are paying too much of their income towards rent. But there's nothing in Prop 33 that will decrease their rent. That's not possible. If you get rid of Costa Hawkins, you still can't decrease rent in the units that people are living in now, so it doesn't solve that. So we'd actually be better off figuring out a different solution. This isn't going to help any of those people right now. And there is zero evidence given. This would be a great time to point to a study or something that establishes that rent control could really help. They do mention that there's other cities that have it, so why not show us a reliable study from these other cities that have it and show us how amazing it's been, and then we'd have the evidence we need to emphatically vote in favor of this and roll back Costa Hawkins. It unfortunately is not in here. So there's no strong case made for why rent control being expanded across California will help reduce the rent for the people they're talking about here. That's fine. Maybe there's still a reason to pass it, but then the question you have to ask yourself is the side effect of the medicine worse than the medicine itself? And by this, what they're saying on the side against Prop 33 is it'll make it more difficult to build housing. We will have less housing. There will not be a financial incentive for builders to build. It won't financially pencil for builders in certain areas with rents that are too low to make economic sense and rents that they can't increase over time. So that's an issue. And not only would it be tough to build there, it would be way easier just to build in the areas that don't have rent control, because remember, this bill, the local municipality has to set up rent control in the area for it to go into effect. So we may find, for example, LA City, nobody wants to build down there because it doesn't pencil anymore because of their new strict rent control. So there won't be any new housing there, but there'll be plenty somewhere else. There's some areas that in California that wouldn't pass rent control, so it'd be better to build there. So that's where all the new construction will be, and they'll see their rents drop because of new construction. There'll be more units. The other guaranteed side effect is that the property values will drop under strict rent control. We see that in areas that have strict rent control. In LA City, a fourplex under the RSO trades for less money than a fourplex that's exempt from the RSO right now. So these are buildings that are going to be worth less money. If the rules get more strict, they're going to drop in value even more. That's going to hurt property taxes, but that's fine. Tens of millions of dollars in property taxes lost. If it truly leads to a massive reduction in homelessness and a bunch of people being able to stay in their homes, it's worth it. But we don't have any research or guarantee. I know I covered a lot. I hope some of this helps you in making a decision or better understanding where the pro side and con sides are coming from on Prop 33. Hopefully it helps you make a decision when you go into the ballot box. And one more thing, and it's going to show up in the comments, and these people aren't even going to watch the video to this point, so there's probably no point. The fallacy of origin rears its ugly head. There'll be people who say, oh, well, you're a real estate agent, and the California Association of Realtors threw piles of money at being against Prop 33. So none of what you're saying is true. You still need to analyze the arguments I'm making based on the merits of the arguments. I actually specialize in selling tenant-occupied properties, and I've learned all these laws to help make sure I take good care of renters and good care of landlords. I will be busier than ever if it's yes on Prop 33. There will be plenty of landlords who want to get out of the business. I already have some listings right now for landlords who want to get out of the business. So trying to say that I'm biased against Prop 33 because of that, please don't fall into that trap. At the end of the day, you need to make the decision that matters to you. Hopefully this has been helpful. Make sure you subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter. We are going to have more content for sure if Prop 33 passes, because we're going to have to track how things work in the different areas throughout California, and this will be a resource. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we can't wait to hear from you.